And it's finally time to start dealing with the engine and with the trannies. First of all, I wanted to clean them from the rust and paint them, but also there were some leaks in both the engine and the trannies, so I had to change some gaskets and seals. As you can see, I already removed most of the parts from the engine, like the water pump, the distributor, the carburetors, the intake and exhaust manifolds. Here I'm removing now the cam cover, the oil pan. I drained the oil already, and this will give me easy access to most of the parts of the engine, so I can clean them nicely and prime and paint it. The oil pan and the cam cover were the first parts to be cleaned and painted. I used a wire wheel on my die grinder to clean the rust, and then I used some parts and brake cleaner to degrease them. I wiped them carefully with a clean rag to make sure that there are no oil spots anywhere, because the paint wouldn't stick. And then I applied the first coat of primer. And back to the engine, I did the same thing. I used rags, scrapers, wire wheels and everything possible to clean the rust and the oil as much as possible, and then I primed it. I bought a new valve cover, so I don't care about this one, that's why I just left it there to protect the valves from the paint. After 3 coats of primer, I applied the first coat of black engine paint. Again, the cam cover is there just to protect the cam chain from the paint, otherwise it's gonna be painted silver later. While waiting for the paint to dry, I decided to spray the first coat of red on the firewall, but this is where I made a huge mistake. I bought wrong color spray. I thought it was gonna be closer to the body color, but actually it's too red and I don't like it. So I just sprayed one coat, and for the second and the third coats I'm gonna buy a different spray, and I'm gonna be more careful with the color this time. And the same procedure for the transmission. Again, wire brushes, wire wheels, degreasers, etc. Before taking any covers out, I wanted to drain the oil, of course. And then I started taking it apart. This is where I got a little stuck because the bearing at the end of the shaft was really stuck to the shaft and to the housing at the main time. So I couldn't remove the housing, and I didn't really want to crack it, but in the meantime I wanted to change the gasket there. So I was wondering what to do, and I decided to take a break and go ahead and paint the engine second coat. When I came back to the trannies, I decided to clean the old gasket using some razor blades and even Q-tips with parts and brake cleaner to degrease, and then I just put some gasket maker in the gap and I closed it. Hopefully it's not gonna leak. The rest of the parts got cleaned and degreased too. After cleaning thousands of pieces of hardware already, I came up with this funny technique for the nuts. I just put the nuts on my screwdriver and let it spin for a couple of seconds with the wire brush, and they start looking like brand new. When all the parts and all the hardware got cleaned, I started assembling. I used gasket plus gasket maker to make sure there's no oil leak anywhere. I made sure that all the gears go in smoothly, and then I tightened all the bolts. I installed the bell housing, and the last thing to do was to put a new seal at the rear end of the shaft. More cleaning and painting. This is the intake manifold. The water pump. And as usual, 3 coats of primer and then 3 coats of paint. When I was done priming all the parts, I started painting them. First I painted parts that were gonna be silver. These are the trannies, the cam cover, the water pump. I wanted all the pulleys for the fan belt to be black. For some reason, when I look at old engines, the first thing that catches my eye is the fan blade. And because I knew that this is a very important part of the general look of the engine, I decided to paint it red, and I think that was a really good idea. Next, the radiator got cleaned and primed and painted. The exhaust header, I have a small problem here. It is a little burnt. So I tried to find the replacement part. It costs 555 bucks. If I am being cheap, before I go ahead and buy a new one, I'm gonna try to repair this one, and if it doesn't work, then I have no other choice. So what's my idea? I've never done that before. I don't know if this is the right way, but now I'm gonna improvise. So I cut these two pipes like that. I'm gonna cut them somewhere here so I can weld this one here like that, and then I'm gonna cut the rest, and I'm gonna find a way to weld it here. And so this is what I came up with. Then I made this plate with two openings for the two pipes to go in. And I welded the pipes to the plate. Then I welded one side of the new part that I made to the plate too. Then I cut down and ground excess of the material around the new part. And on the other side I welded the rest of the pipe. Okay. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but it looks pretty much okay for me. And it saves me $555, which is the most important part. And then I applied some rust converter, and later I painted it with special manifold paint, which is heat resistant, and apparently it resists about 2000 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna cut this video here, and I'll see you in my next one when I'm gonna be assembling the engine, and I think it's gonna be very interesting. So I'll see you then.